bonjour, hi, Canada. It's Hugh Hewitt. It's Monday, May 11th, in the year of the plague, 2020. And yes, we are over 80,000 deaths from COVID in the United States, 1.36 million cases, 4 million people around the globe. Thank you, Chinese Communist Party infected, 282,000 dead. But if you're listening, and even if you're in the hospital, you're staying alive, I am playing Bee Gees today at the request of Captain Mark Vandroff. It's his favorite band. And he spends Saturday night like Lilacs. He and Lilacs are the two disco guys in my audience, but Lilacs is never up at this hour. So I got a request last night from Captain Mark. And again, Vandroff is he's a great patriot, still at work, knows more about building ships than anybody I know. But bring it up, please. I want to tell people about he has a white pantsuit. And he's a Florida Gator, so he doesn't know much about actually, he's a Annapolis guy, but he roots for the Gators. And doesn't know anything about football, but he can, for an older guy, he can cut a rug. And this is how he's been doing. He and Mrs. V are just spending the weekends working on their routine. And he asked me, could I just play Bee Gees music today? So I'm going to do that. All for you, Captain Mark. Pick up the pace on the treadmill. Sad news this morning we got all the different news, COVID news, General Flynn news. Oh my gosh, the Obama Department of Justice. What a mess. What a scandal. What they did to Michael Flynn is going to go down in the annals of the Department of Justice as its worst scandal ever, including the Ted Stevens scandal. And I'll talk about that today. Boris Johnson gave a great speech. We've got a lot of economic news. We got a lot of great guests today. Liz Cheney coming along, Tim Alberta, Josh Rogan, Mike Allen. Selena Zito is here to brighten your day. Congressional candidate Mike Garcia in California is 25th. They have a special election tomorrow. Mike Garcia is along. Make sure you vote for Mike tomorrow in California's 25th. But I want to begin because sad news this morning. Jerry Stiller died. And if you didn't like Jerry Stiller, I don't know what's wrong with you. His son Ben is up for grabs. You can like or dislike Ben, but you can't dislike Jerry. And I go back to the days when Ann and Jerry Stiller were together on, I think, the Ed Sullivan show, right? And Mira and Jerry Stiller did the Ed Sullivan, I think. I think I was like 6 years old watching Ann and Jerry. But you know him from Seinfeld, and our hat is off to Frank Costanza.
A new holiday was born.
That was, of course, Festivus. Frank Costanza died last night of natural causes. His son, Ben, posting, I'm sad to say my father, Jerry Stiller, passed away from natural causes. He was a great dad and grandfather and will be the most dedicated husband to Ann for about 62 years. He will be greatly missed. Love you, Dad. Okay, Ben got a point there. You get a point for that. Let's get to the news. I want to talk about Mike Flynn, first of all, because they didn't talk about him on the Sunday shows. I predicted on Friday, you're going to get very little about Mike Flynn. General Mike Flynn was persecuted and prosecuted. He did, in fact, lie to the vice president about what he had said, although it is possible he simply, I don't know. The vice president thought he lied to him, and I trust Mike Pence. But he should not have been prosecuted, and that has become crystal clear. Chris Christie on This Week yesterday had this to say. By the way, he notes the fact that he misled the vice president, but in any White House, everybody misleads the vice president, so that's not like news from Krypton. It is a reference that he makes to a second scandal as well that you should know. The Supreme Court struck down the Obama Department of Justice convictions for Bridgegate aimed at Chris Christie aid. So it was just this is Chris Christie summing up worst week in DOJ history in a long time, cut number 9.
Yeah, well, listen, he was dishonest to the vice president, and that doesn't change. But, George, there's a bigger point here that the president, former President Obama, is running away from. The history of his Justice Department right now is getting pretty battered this week. The conduct of these FBI agents in dealing with Mike Flynn, and I was a U.S. attorney and worked with FBI agents and helped to direct them. What they did with Mike Flynn was a absolutely classic perjury trap. They knew what the truth was of what he had done or not done before they walked in. They didn't need to interview him. And they went in there and then wrote notes afterwards about trying to decide whether or not they should try to get the truth out of him or whether they should try to get him to lie so that he would get fired or charged. And then this week as well, in one that involved me and my former team, the Supreme Court rejected 9-0 a false prosecution that was brought by the Obama Justice Department and a vindictive prosecutor, politically motivated, against folks who worked for me when I was governor of New Jersey. You know, it's a bad week for the Obama Justice Department, for Jim Comey and his FBI, and for Eric Holder and Loretta Lynch and their Justice Department. You can't run away from that. These are unprecedented times because we're taking the covers off of what was some really awful conduct by prosecutors and investigators. And you know, George, I usually stand up for these folks, but you cannot defend this conduct.
Now, what was interesting, Christie is right, but because he was personally involved in one case, he got the emphasis wrong. The Wall Street Journal today has a headline, Barack Obama on Michael Flynn, the lawyer president misstates the crime and the real threat to justice. And the fact of the matter, if you go to HughHewitt.com and scroll down, you'll see my long piece, too long for any other publication, because I'm worked up about this, the exoneration of General Flynn and the silence of the lambs, also known as the Manhattan Beltway media elite. General Flynn was my guest in 2016. I don't want any of your listeners to think that there's an enemy that exists on this planet that cannot be defeated, he told me. It's a guy who had been fighting in Afghanistan against those killers, and then he tracked down Abu Musab al-Zarqawi's terrorists. He killed him. He was not a fan of Secretary Clinton. She's got a bunch of people around her that are all of this Obama administration. They're waiting in the wings to come right back in. I mean, most people don't even know the nature of ISIS. He was so down on the Ben Rhodeses of the world. She's got a personal staff of like 900 people. I mean, they're just all sycophants, just waiting to get back into government to keep going in the direction that we are going. And that remains, by the way, the choice before us. Do we want to go back to appeasement or do we want to stay strong come November? But it turns out we now have the documents. We now have the proof. And Andy McCarthy has been breaking it down. They set up General Flynn not because of any material reason, not because of any investigation, but to get him out of the White House because he would have discovered what was going on with their attempt to destroy Donald Trump. It is that simple. Now, Judge Emmett Sullivan still has this case. And he had Ted Stevens' case, the U.S. Senator to whom the Department of Justice previously had sunk to a low in prosecuting. But this is a new low. And I hope Sullivan goes off. He might not. I don't know what he's going to do. I don't know Judge Sullivan. I haven't followed the case that closely, but I know what I know. This was a terrible abuse of power. This is a prosecutor out of control. Let me check the markets. Birch Gold Group. All right. Birch Gold Group tells me every day, check the market at the start. And right now, banks, they have no idea which way things are going to go with this economy. Right now, do you have a plan? If the stilts get knocked out, if we go into a Great Depression, do you have something to fall back on? Do you have any gold in your portfolio? Because that's where Birch Gold comes in. You can text my name, Hugh, to 474747, and I suggest you do. Get some gold or diversify your retirement. The Dow went up on on Friday, 455 points. The NASDAQ, 141, and the S&P up 48. And right now, overseas, New England and Germany are both down. But the 10 years up at 0.68%. Oil's at 25.50. Gold is at a great entry point at 1703. It's still well below 1900. You got to get diversified before the market turns on you. Go to HughGold.com, HughGold.com. The papers are full of optimism about the market today. I don't know. I really don't know. I'll give you some headlines when we come back, but I do know you should check with Birch Gold. Text my name, Hugh, to 474747. Stay tuned.